All right, let's move on to part 6. Now I'm going to be covering a host of different prophecies. Number 1, we read in Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. Read that because there's warnings there by God in relation to Israel again. And anybody that blesses Israel, we're going to get blessed. Anyone who curses Israel will be cursed. Now, we just covered a little while ago Zechariah 12:3, where it said that anybody that comes against either Israel or Jerusalem will be cut into pieces. But in Joel chapter 3, verse 2, we see there that anybody that tries to divide the land of God's land of Israel, they will be destroyed. And so you have a curse showing you that the nations who come against Israel will be destroyed. Now, when we're talking about America, you see that America is declining rapidly. And I believe that part of the reason why America is declining, and so, example, what the European Union, so, example, what China, in these other countries, these entities, these nations are coming against Israel, trying to divide the land of Israel. And they're trying to divide the land of Israel by the peace process, which is failing. But they're trying to do this, and it may be, as I said in one of my other videos, that it may happen in September, where they try to enforce a division and split Israel in half, or making a Palestinian state inside, which would cause war. And so what I'm going to show you now, I believe in my heart, is a product, what's happening to the United States because of the curse that's come against the United States for going against Israel, and even in cases of threatening Israel, for example, as I already showed you in the news, that the United States just threatened Israel, you better apologize to Turkey. Now, what's going to happen, I believe, with all my heart, is the world is going to go into chaos when there's going to be a massive shift in the global economy. We're starting to see the stress right now. Even in today's news from CNN, when I was watching, they're talking about the global recession. If you watch the news tonight of August of 19th, you will see tonight they're going to be talking about the global recession. In order for the Antichrist to rise, in order for the world to be calling for one person to control all of the world's economy, as we're shown in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 through 17, where the Lord said that nobody would be able to buy or sell, say he that had the mark, the name, or the number of the beast. And this is in reference to the Antichrist telling us that there's a period of time where the Antichrist will force everybody to take his mark in the right hand or in the forehead. And without this mark, you're going to be X'd out of the economy. You're not going to be able to buy anything, sell anything, and it doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor, middle class, no middle class, or if you're in jail or not, because it says free or bond. And so we see the development of this new world system coming, and the collapse of America and the collapse of the European Union, or the downgrading of the European Union in America, is going to help make the shift that will bring out the Antichrist. Now, ever since I opened up my prophecy site, and I've been warning this back since 1977 when the Lord put me into this ministry, I told people that the dollar was going to die. I showed people how the events are taking place, and it's loaded into my book. But look at just the events that are coming on the last couple of days. One of the main institutions of the United States government, the Postal Service, proposes cutting 120,000 jobs, pulling out of health care plan. Now, when you start cutting 120,000 jobs from a government office, and saying essentially what's happening with this organization, the United States Post Office, is essentially what's happening with the entire country. They're on the verge of collapse. It says the financial strapped U.S. Postal Service is proposing to cut its workforce by 20%, and to withdraw from the federal health and retirement plans because it believes it could provide benefits at a lower cost. The layoffs would be achieved in in part by breaking labor agreements, a proposal that drew shift fire from the postal unions. The plan would require congressional approval, but if successful, could be the precedent setting with possible ripple effects throughout government. It would also deliver a major blow to the country's labor movement. In notice informing employees of its proposals with the headline "Financial Crisis Calls for Significant Actions," the Postal Service said that we will be insolvent next month due to the significant declines in mail volume and retire health benefits pre-funding cost imposed by Congress. And during the past 4 years, the service lost $20 billion, including $8.5 billion in fiscal 2010. Over a period, mail volume dropped by 20%. What happens to this organization is happening to America, and believe me, there's going to be a shift that most of the Americans are not ready for. Here's another one from moneynews.com. The headline, U.S. facing massive job losses. At a time when the American public and global investors are desperate for the sign of economic growth and major U.S.-based companies are eliminating tens of thousands of jobs. Outplacement firm Challenger Gary and Christmas is forecasting a loss of 66,414 jobs in the coming months. Now, when you go back into my website, go back as far as you want, because as back as, I believe, at the end of 2007, when I saw what was going to happen with America, I started to warn the people, and I said, watch the news, because every single month you're going to see hundreds of thousands of people get pink slips. And ever since 2008 all the way up until this month, we've seen exactly that take place, to the point where we have millions of people that have been out of work. And not only are they out of work, but they've been out of work now for years. And more people are being added to it. So what we're actually seeing is the footsteps to bring in a major depression. And I told people in 2008, forget about the recession. You better start listening about news about the depression, because that's what's going to happen, because I believe in my heart that that's what's going to help bring out the Antichrist. Here's another one. Record numbers of homeless people in Portland, Maine. I mean, we're seeing families, the American dream, go up in smoke, and people can't even afford homes. They can't even afford rent, and they're going homeless. And this is America. This isn't a third world country. And if you think that it's good for your country, if you don't live in the United States, you better have another guest coming, because America up until now has been very, very kind to the rest of the countries, giving aid and giving food and assistance and emergency assistance. But now that's going to be pulled back. What do you think it's going to happen to your country? What about the third world countries who rely on the United States for food? That's going to shift. That's going to dry up, and it's going to affect people all around the world. So get ready for it. Now here's another one. America and Europe sinking together. Sinking together. The worldwide decline of power from the present economic system, that there will be a shift. A major shift that will take place. Now let me get into another prophecy. This has to do with Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7, where God shows us in the last days there would be a revived Roman Empire. Out of this Roman Empire, we would see 10 kings emerge, and out of those 10 kings, there would be another little horn, the 11th. The little horn that shoots up among the 10, and when he comes, he's going to subdue 3 of the kings. And so we're looking for a revived Roman Empire in the last days. Do we see it? Obviously, it's already here in the form of 2 entities. One would be the European Union, and the other would be the 10 nations, Islamic nations, who forged the Union. All of this information's in my book, by the way. So now what we have with the western leg of the old Roman Empire is the European Union. They are the nations that used to be in the old Roman Empire. And now, because of what's happening with the problems of the global economy, and specifically the European Union, they want to now integrate the European Union even closer. says the leaders of France and Germany tonight called the Eurozone nations to form a collective government to save the struggling currency. The French President Nicolas Sarkozy and German Chancellor Angela Merkel put forward the radical plan to balance the budgets of the 17 nations that use the crisis-hit single currency. They said they want a true European economic government that would consist of the heads of state of all the member nations. The new body would meet twice a year and to be led by the EU President Herman Van Rompuy. The dramatic move follows weeks of turmoil on the markets amid fears over Spain and Italy's financial stability, as well as the bailout of Greece. So, what do we have here? We have the nations that used to be in the old Roman Empire. They got together, they're a European Union. But now they want to get even closer and mingle all of these people together under a collective governments, the heads of the governments, based on the euro, the currency, to keep it strong so that they can regulate and they can have new laws and whatever they need to do to bring back the strength of the European Union. And look at this. Here's a great article for you. Check this out. Economic government, world integrate Europe to a degree not seen since the Roman Empire. And if the Lord told us in the last days that there would be a revived Roman Empire, I got news for you, it's already here. Are you ready for the United States of Europe? The integration of Europe is about to go another level. As the European debt crisis deepens, there are cries all over the EU for full economic integration in Europe. And on Wednesday, again, they're going to probably say the same thing to this other article. The French President Nicolas Sarkozy and German Chancellor Angela Merkel sent a letter to the European Council President Herman Van Rompuy, which stated that they want a new economic government for Europe to be formed. And according to the letter, Sarkozy and Merkel want the leaders of the Eurozone countries to elect a president of a new economic government. So who knows? Could the Antichrist come out of this new electorate of these new leaders that they're going to put in place to try to establish a strong European Union? Only God knows that, but I do know this. If the Lord told us that the revived Roman Empire is going to come, and it's already here, and now you're seeing this entity get stronger and stronger, at least they're trying to get it stronger, and I'm thinking that it's a possibility it can go either way. It could go, it may not go as strong as they want it to go, and then they'd run into problems, in which case you would see this happen. In Daniel chapter 2, it says, "And whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes that are partly clay and partly iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of iron. For whereas much as thou sawest the iron mixed with murky clay, and the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with murky clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is mixed with clay." So there's a possibility that the European Union may fall apart. We may see 10 nations stick together, of which the Antichrist would rise up between 3 of those nations. And those 3 nations are the really strong nations right now are France, Britain, and Germany. And they may just be the three kings that Daniel tells us that will be subdued by the Antichrist when he comes up. The bottom line here is the Antichrist system is already being developed. The European Union is part of the old Roman Empire, and it's already here.